Hello everyone, this is Ronnie,
And Aubrey.
and Aubrey's going to be leaving today to go back to the United States.
I'm leaving today.
And I just wanted to get maybe both of our thoughts on staying here in Koh Phagnan, Thailand, which we didn't expect to be here for so long. In fact, we didn't even realise we were going to be here until maybe days or weeks before we arrived, really, because we were going to go to Chiang Mai initially, right?
Yeah, and then we had to change all of the flights to come here because the breeding season was so bad.
Yeah. So that was kind of a last minute decision. We ended up living here since March.
Yeah.
March, April, May, June. Basically 4 months.
Yeah. 3.5. Oh.
So tell me about your experience here and, what
Well,
tips you would give other people, would you recommend coming, all that kind of stuff?
initially when we got here, everything was open. So beaches were open and restaurants and this and that. So we were able to just go and kind of
Circulate.
explore and do whatever. And then the coronavirus hit, so then we got locked down here. And
Not for very long, was everything
no, it was
open?
only a couple of weeks really, and then we had intended on and had tickets and everything booked to go to Bali. And then it was like, nah, you're not going anywhere. So we were here. So it was a really interesting experience to be here on the island while the lockdown has been going on. So there was a curfew put in place between first initially 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. And then it got moved to 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. And then 2 days ago it finally completely lifted, so there's no more curfew. But like you could only order takeaway from restaurants. You had to and they still are like insisting you wear a mask if you want to enter stores a lot of times, that they will like turn you away if you don't have a mask on, if you go into some of like the bigger stores and stuff. So yeah, like it was kind of bittersweet knowing I was leaving, because the other day we went to one of the vegan Israeli restaurant up in Tanu, and there was like a sing-song thing happening with a fire, and like a lot of people were just there, and it felt really good to just like be in a group of people again. And especially in that area of the island, it's very like open and yogic and vegan and blah blah blah, so it was nice to be around a group of people in that setting. And it was just kind of like, oh, am I really leaving now that everything is like opening back up? But everyone is starting to slowly like trickle out of the island anyway, because it's turning into the rainy season, and people like to be where they're from a lot of the times in the summer anyway. So
Well, even a lot of the time we were here is technically the hot season.
Yeah.
In March and April, I think. And
it was very hot.
it was very hot here, and if you're not comfortable with that, you won't like it. And like basically, sometimes I felt like I would just sit still and I would start to sweat. That's how hot it was, like almost a sauna.
Now it feels comfortable, and I don't know if that's because the temperature is more mild or if we've just gotten used to it at this point. Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, and the sun can be really strong and all that.
Hence why we both have like pink noses.
It's a relatively small island. It's fairly easy to get to from Bangkok. I think it's just
it
another
is.
flight
I think
and a
that
bus.
now, in retrospect, and I'm sorry that you have to do this again, but like I would fly to Koh Samui and take the ferry over next time instead of doing Surat Thani. Even though the flights from Surat Thani are a little bit cheaper, you still have to do like
Where does
a
Koh-
4.5-hour ferry ride from Surat Thani, which is still on the mainland, over to the island here, where you can fly from Bangkok. And it's like annoying too to go to Surat Thani, because you get to Bangkok and then you have to transfer airports to get into a domestic airport to fly to Surat Thani, whereas if you fly from Bangkok, you can go straight to Koh Samui from the international airport. So that's even easier. And then you can catch a ferry that's literally like 30 minutes from Koh Samui to Koh Phagnan. So that would, like, if you're coming, I would say spend a little extra money so you save more time. And you can do things more direct. And it does, like, in the end, save you a lot more money, I would think, a lot more energy, because you're saving time and you don't have to, like, travel between airports and then take the ferry and or take the longer ferry. But when you come to the island, like, get ready to ride a motorbike. So if you've never ridden a motorbike, it's probably good if you know how to, or practice, or be able to learn really quickly, because we ended up like thinking, oh, we'll just be able to walk everywhere initially where we were first living, but to walk anywhere was still 20 minutes, and it was so unbelievably hot that you're walking and you're just drenched in sweat, and you're like, I don't want to go and get fruit because it's just so hot. So, and if you want to go to anywhere else on the island, you really, if you want to be independent with it, like having a motorbike rather than waiting for one of the tuk-tuk taxis to like come around and pick you up.
Yeah, the motorbike is approximately, if you were to get it for one day,
it's like $5 a day.
Yeah, if you were to get it for one day, they charge like 250.
So that would be even like $8 a day.
Yeah, for one day. If you have it for a month, you can negotiate it down
to like 100 or 150 baht. So
which
it's
is
like
what,
$3 to $5 a day.
$3 to $5 a day for a month.
Yeah.
90 to 100 and whatever dollars for your transport. It's pretty.
And the gas is like, you know, it's a small tank.
Yeah,
so
it's gonna be
expensive.
gonna work out pretty well if you're gonna be traveling about all over the place.
I would suggest though, like if you are driving a bike, not to stop at the little stalls that say gas for 40 baht for a bottle. Like there are gas stations on the island because those bottles don't put much gas in your tank, and you're ending up gonna spend like way more. We could normally fill our tank from pretty much empty for only 100 baht, and we could do like 3 or 4 of those bottles.
Okay.
And still only be like a couple of bars.
Okay, so that's some good advice on travel. Accommodation wise.
I would say like at least for the first couple of days, give yourself somewhere to be in preparation, and then you can start doing research or get a bike and start driving around, and you can find different places. There are also like a bunch of Facebook groups that you can get on, which is how we found the majority of where we've stayed after the first resort that we were at. That you can just literally type in the search bar in Facebook like Koh Phagnan for rent, house for rent, blah blah blah, and there are so many different groups that you can jump into, and that's how we found every single place that we've been at since the first one that we came and stayed at.
So I booked a resort. We were trying to speak to someone about a house actually before we got here, but I booked a resort for about a week called Lamson Resort, and we stayed in the Pink Rooms hostel, which was fine. Pink Rooms hostel was no problem.
Yeah, that was like good for our first 2 days to start getting acclimated.
Yeah, it was very near where the ferry was.
Yeah, it was like the reason I booked it was because it was like a 7-minute walk from us getting off the boat. So I was like, okay, just get us to a place where we can put our stuff down and get into a bed.
So there's the main port and sort of town here is called Thong Salah, and it's where all the big shops and things are. And so that's where we stayed the first little bit. Mm-hmm. We then moved to Sri Tanu, which is about
it's like 15 to 20 minutes.
15 minutes away on the motorbike, not that far away.
Yeah, it's like 15.
And it's the west coast of the island, so the drive along is like along the sea and everything. And
that's where all the sunsets happen.
Yeah, it's the side of the island where you see the sun setting really well, and there's a lot of resorts. So this island is basically Koh Phagnan means like sandbar or something. So a lot of the beaches, especially on the west side, are very shallow.
Yeah,
like you can
shallow.
walk out into the sea for quite a long time before it actually gets steep. So there's a lot of kind of sandbars, I think you call that. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of resorts, and basically almost the entire island, especially on that side, is you get to some point where it's just like resort after resort after resort after resort, and so your options for staying are like you can stay at a resort, you can get a house, small house. I think.
So when you want to talk about resorts, though, there are many different kinds of resorts, and there are different levels of rooms. So also like be aware if you're looking at like booking.com or something that the room options, you know, you might see a picture and think it's one thing, but you need to like actually make sure that the option that you're clicking on matches the picture that you were initially looking at. Because a lot of the resorts have what they call bungalows, and that could literally mean it's like a little hut with a bed, a fan, and a bathroom that has a toilet, a sink, and a shower head.
That has cockroaches and ants running
around. But the thing is, like on that same resort, they can have really nice air-conditioned rooms that, you know, are a little bit, they are bigger and, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But these ones, it didn't have a refrigerator. It didn't have anything, you know. So
But Sri Tanu is like the vegan capital of the island, supposedly, and
yeah, there's like 6 or 7 or 8. There's a bunch of vegan
lots of
restaurants
vegan and some raw food restaurants. And we stayed at a place called Lameson, which was on Happy Beach.
Mhm.
It was a very nice beach. So
It's beautiful.
Lameson is not. In terms of the resort, like the staff were a bit funny, especially
Yeah,
the lady
they
that
were
runs
not
it.
very helpful.
Not very helpful.
And they like got annoyed at you if you went to the office and tried to ask for help, and she got mad that you like woke her up one day.
Yeah.
And she was
But
like,
it's-
"Why you wake me up?"
But it's also right beside Zen Beach,
hmm
and traditionally every night, was it every night at sunset?
Every single night, people would go to Zen Beach
People would
and do
gather at Zen-
music
yeah.
and
Loads of people, like
drumming
hundreds
and
and hundreds of people.
they would go for the sunset. Yeah.
And so it was kind of an epicenter. The area we were in was quite central, and that was also where there was a Monday night fruit luck that happened at Zen Beach as well, where the kind of fruitarian people,
People that eat mostly
very
fruit.
very loosely fruitarian people,
You could just say fruit based.
would
Call them fruit based.
would show up. And there's also a nude beach beside that, which we didn't go to. Well, I went. You never went to it.
I honestly
went to it.
didn't, which is funny. You would think I would have.
But
But I
it
also didn't like the
had
beach
seaweed
over
in it,
there.
yeah.
I didn't like the ocean on that part. And sea urchins also.
Yeah, so there
Lots
was
of sea urchins on that
so
on that beach.
so
I
that's-
would have much rather gone to Chalaklamar at
Mhm.
this point Hadron as once I found out about that.
Yeah, but
So,
we also liked. Let's talk about some of the places in Sri Tanu. So there was firstly food wise, there was quite a few food markets.
yeah, there was a couple. Not as in Tangsala, the main port city is where like the bigger fruit markets are, and there was more fruit and it was cheaper, and you could also get things like sugarcane juice and orange juice, and you had a lot more options. But Sritanu was like okay, it was enough for where you could get fruit and be able to sustain. But
What are the prices of it? I mean, I've only mostly ate mangoes, but you've been having like bottles of fresh orange juice for 100 baht, which is £3 or so for
yeah,
freshly squeezed.
so that's really good.
Coconuts are how much?
The cheapest I've seen was 20 baht a coconut, but the cheapest I think I've
Less
that
than
one
$1?
day there was one day that I ended up like going and buying like 10 coconuts, and she only charged me 80 baht. They weren't the best. They were starting to go off a little bit, but they were still fine enough for me to be able to drink, and it was good.
So $1 or less per coconut?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, or less, probably 80 cents or less
Yeah.
for a coconut.
And a lot of times too, when they'll sell them to you, like they will have them like refrigerated. Sometimes you buy them and they're not, but sometimes they are, and so that's nice, and you can have them like right away. But we have a fridge here, so I just bring it back and put them in the fridge.
In Sri Tanu, there was a few raw food places. If you're interested in that, one called Orion, which I thought was pretty amazing.
Yeah, Orion was like a detoxification and healing center, and they also had like yoga classes, and you could stay there, and they would do like
Yeah.
detox programs for you, and
It
you know,
was
you
very
would do
relaxed.
like
You could
juicing
hang
and
out
stuff
there.
like that.
Like, yeah, you could totally just hang out there all day. They never pushed you away.
And you could just
raw
eat there
food
all day. And it was
options.
so good.
Yeah, it was raw
Totally vegan, and the raw food was like really amazing. You really like the BLT.
Yeah, the BLT, raw BLT.
Yeah.
Where else did you like? It was pure vegan heaven, which kind of moved.
Pure vegan heaven. Yeah, it was funny. It was in
But-
one place, and then it hopped down to like a completely different location, and it like I wanted to go to it the first time I'd seen it originally in Sritanu, and then all of a sudden I go and it's like closed, and then the entire building's just knocked to the ground. So it moved, but they have like 2 raw options that were really good. There was like a wrap that was made with like a nori sheet, and then there was also like this huge raw salad bowl, and it was
The papaya
so
salad.
amazing. No papaya salad. No more papaya salad.
At one point, Aubrey was having so many papaya salads. It was
I would eat like
funny.
3 in a day. They were so good. It's really stupid.
So there's Eat.co, there's
Eat.co.
Karma Cafe.
Karma Cafe had the best cucumber pesto. Like, it was so good. The pesto at Orion was used with zucchini noodles, and I think that the cucumber helped offset the nuttiness of the pesto, as opposed to where the zucchini is a little heavier than a cucumber. So it's like, it was just so good. And they had raw sushi, which was really nice as well.
So some of the other places for staying there, we saw Loifer Resort, which Derek stayed in, which was a nice place.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. That's more like you
Hostel.
could get, well, it does have hostel style rooms where you've got like a couple of bunk beds in a room, but it also has like really nice bungalows that you can stay in
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and there's a place called Ogama in Sri Tanu, which used to be like one of the biggest.
It's not open anymore.
Yeah, it's not open anymore, but used to be one of the biggest Tantra yoga schools in the world or something, and it closed due to a scandal involving basically potentially abuse or rape of some of the people that were some of the students there and stuff. So I don't know. It's still there, but it's obviously not really started opened again. But you can look into that yourself.
Okay, why did you bring that up anyway?
I don't know, just because it's worth sort of knowing about in a way. Like
Mm.
it's a
If you ask
history.
people who are on the island and have been on the island about it, they'll kind of like, oh yeah, you know,
Yeah.
and give you that kind of response.
So and we also stayed in after the Lameson Resort. We stayed in a house.
Yeah, we found a house on the Facebook group, and it was owned by this little Thai lady who ended up like living in the house next door. And it was nice because what we were looking for was space initially and better Wi-Fi, because the Wi-Fi at the resort that we were at, Lameson, didn't reach our room, so we couldn't ever be in our room and have Wi-Fi. So the house that I had found had, when you walked in the door, well, first of all, it had like a really big front porch, which was nice. And then you walked in the front door, and there was like a little foyer area that we ended up moving the desk from the bedroom into. And so that was really good to have like that space. And then it had like a really, really big kitchen, like a really nice big open kitchen. And then it also even had like a little back patio. And then it had a nice big bedroom with a giant like king size bed and air conditioning, and then a really big bathroom. So it was nice and
Yeah.
open and fairly
And
like
good
tall
Wi-Fi as
ceilings.
well, actually.
And it was pretty good Wi-Fi, but it was a little bit costly, especially being just like in the middle of like inland, not near the sea at all, and then no view really. You're just like
No
surrounded
view.
by trees.
But it was probably $500 for the month.
But it was kind of nice though to like be a little bit more like in with where the Thais live a little, because that was kind of more where it was. We were off of the main road
Sure.
and off of the middle road, and
So you can get sort of houses to yourself
Mhm.
as well, but they're usually, smallish, I guess.
Yeah.
They seem to be one or two rooms a lot of the time, or
But if you think about it, like the price that you're paying is for a fully furnished place to
Yeah.
live, so
okay.
that's helpful if you're in the States or wherever. Like you pay $500 and
Yeah.
that place is empty.
So since
Like-
since then we've lived on two resorts.
2 more resorts, yeah. So
One was called Secret Garden.
that
which
was actually really exciting for us because it was 7,000 baht cheaper than what we were paying. And it came with, and it was still a fairly big place, bedroom, bathroom, and a like kitchen, foyer, living room, whatever area, a little balcony, and then a porch. And it had a pool, it had a little yoga shala, it had a little lounge,
Yeah.
and it was in like a gated like little community of bungalows, and that was like really nice. So we were like excited, like, oh, it's a step up, we get a pool,
Yeah.
and it costs less. So that was,
Definitely worth checking out.
And there was a
Secret
cat.
Garden. Yeah, Secret Garden Resort.
yeah.
Probably won't be as cheap as it was for us if you come here at another pot.
But it was that was like a really exciting find.
That
Really
yeah.
exciting find. And that was more in Thong Sala, so we also were looking to be closer to Thong Sala anyway.
Yeah, and
To
it's
be
run
closer to the fruit and stuff.
it's run by a guy from England, so
Mm-hmm.
what
That's kind of,
no problem with
whatever.
the language barrier. Let me think. And then we've come here, which is called Banjai D Resort by CoSpace, which is
Mhm.
like a co-working place. So it's got supposedly better Wi-Fi and like better places.
There are Wi-Fi routers in every bedroom,
Yeah.
and then there are 2 co-working spaces where they have desks and chairs that you can go and sit
Yeah.
and
this-
do your work around other people who are working.
Would you say overall this is probably the best place we've been?
Yeah, I would say it feels more like a hotel because you've just got one big room and we have a microwave and a refrigerator
Sure.
and a bathroom, but we are right on the sea. Like I can just walk out. There's a patio, a yard, and then the ocean's
Yeah.
right there.
It's
And
a-
then if we go up, the up the hill, we've got like an infinity pool and a really nice lounge area with tables and these little like canopy, almost like a gazebo like thing with beanbag chairs, and they've got a little bar and you can order food, and they even do room service, so it does feel a little more like a hotel. And this is like the priciest of all the places, but what we're paying for, not necessarily in space in the room, we have space upstairs as well as access to space at an entirely other co-working place in Banthai, which is like 10 minutes from here, so we could
I think we
go there as well.
I think we would have paid more at Lemzon if we'd stayed there for a full month, to be honest.
Yeah, we would have.
Prices were higher.
For sure.
So yeah, there's plenty of accommodation options. What there isn't, it's not like apartment buildings and lots of hotels. It's more resorts and
with like a bunch of little individual bungalows for the most.
Hostel-y kind of things, and some of
Yeah.
the accommodation is pretty simple, and so you have to check that out for yourself.
But you can find houses if you want to, and the best
Yeah.
place to do that is on those groups, because
Probably,
people will be like, oh, you know, I'm looking to lease my house or whatever, or I have this much time left on the lease and I'm leaving or something. So
one thing I would say is we don't really have a good reflection of, you know, what to do on the island, because a lot of things were closed. By the time we were here, there was not very long into it, there was curfews, things were already kind of shutting down. But as with most places in Thailand, there's plenty of places for massage. There's certainly lots of beaches.
there's a lot of
which are
hiking.
open. There's places to hike. It's a spectacular. The beaches are spectacular, pretty
Yeah,
much.
super amazing.
There's there's mountains. There's a waterfall that we
There's
never
a
got to.
couple of
'cause it was-
waterfalls actually.
Waterfalls that were literally closed
Mm-hmm.
because of coronavirus.
Yep, because they were like parks.
National parks, and I mean, when I came to Sri Tanu, right, I was like, this place is full of, you know, spiritual poser kind of people, like yogi posers, you know, which is probably an unfair statement, but one thing I want to say is this island is like almost entirely tourists, from what I see.
Yeah, except for the people that work here.
Even a lot of people that work here are not Thai, they're
Yeah, a lot of them are
Burmese.
Burmese.
But lots of white people. Like if you go out driving around, you will mostly see white people, as far as I can tell, on this island. And
White people who are like very tanned, but
tanned white
White.
people.
they're usually European or like.
You'll see a bunch of white dreadlock people and
I don't feel like I saw that many.
yoga clothes, yoga fashion. Yeah, I guess not. No, I'm being
Not
a bit.
dreads.
So in keeping with that, if you want to go to like workshops and in different classes and
They've got all sorts of stuff.
kirtans and meditation and healing, there's lots of healing centres, lots of healing places, lots of yoga on the island. But there's also the famous thing about Koh Phagnan is the
Full moon parties.
full moon party that we never went to because it was closed once again. I don't know if we would have
Yeah,
went to,
they like cancelled them
Yeah, we
for
did.
March.
yeah. So we don't have any experience of that. But we did go to the beach there. It's a very nice
Most
beach.
beautiful beach, like literally the most beautiful beach. But I hear it gets really bad when the
Yeah.
full moon party is going, because that's where everyone flocks to, and it's just like a big drunk fest. But we got to experience it in a really beautiful light,
Yeah.
so it was so nice.
And there's lots of things as well, like this diving, snorkeling,
Mhm.
there's different things like that, boat tours. We never really did a lot of that. Once again, a lot of it was closed and all that kind of stuff. So overall, what's your opinion of being here?
I'm gonna miss it. That's what it is. I'm definitely gonna miss it.
Any particular advice for anyone?
Traveling is not as difficult or as expensive as you might think, so don't stop yourself if you want to go somewhere like this. Like, just do your research and feel free to like find videos like this and reach out to people and ask.
Sure.
Ask
Feel
some
free to put
advice.
questions below. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you in another video.
Bye, guys.